Today, you're going to hear about how to keep going, how to recalibrate yourself for whatever goals you set in January. And we're going to talk about some great practical tips on how to either keep your goals going or maybe you have to shift and maybe you have to go in a different direction. But whatever goals you set for January, it's not too late. Hello and welcome to Happy, Healthy, and Skeptical. We are your hosts, Christine Palamo and Jennifer Hobson. All right, all right, all right. Channeling Matthew McConaughey today. And we are just about to hit February, second month of the year. So we are talking about keeping going, keeping yourself going through the year. What does that look like from what you set your plan for in January? So as we kick this off, Jen, what advice do you have for people if somebody has, say, set their goals in January, starting off the new year strong, and they either are off to not a great start or have not started at all, to regroup for February? What's some advice you have for them?
Well, the thing is you're not alone. It's extremely common. More times than not, this is what happens, right? We reach January, which it's kind of like the Mondaying thing. I'm gonna push everything to Monday. I'm gonna start on Monday, and we think of January as the same thing. We wait, even in October, November, December. We talked about this. We put off our goals or showing up for ourselves because we'll wait. We'll keep pushing it off till January. I'll get restarted in January. I'll think of new goals and new accomplishments that I want to achieve in January. And what happens is we don't make a plan. And also, we don't really connect with why we want to achieve those goals. So, if you're one of those people, I can almost guarantee you came up with the goal. You did no background work. You didn't put any of the effort in to figure out why do I want to achieve this goal? How am I going to daily move the needle towards achieving it? And what's going to be the end result, or when am I going to achieve it? Those are really the kind of background work that you have to do. And if you're stopping, you're thinking, yep, that's me. I didn't achieve my goal. I didn't really understand why I wanted to do it. I didn't really understand what I had to do daily to do it. So, within the first 14 days, I didn't show up for it. And then, the most common one is going to the gym. If you have ever been a gym goer, well, sometimes you try to avoid it. The first week of January, it's either a nut house or you just stay home because you're waiting, for Sally January to stop what she said she was going to do because it's not going to take that long. Something better is going to come along, right? Something is going to distract her from her original intention, and she's going to get off course. And she forgot why she got started to begin with. So there's nothing guiding her back and keeping her on track to what she said she wanted to do. So that's the why, right? And your question was, well, how do they get restarted? That's exactly how. I even work with clients where they've started their online business and they've gotten distracted, or their priorities have changed and they've gotten off track. So I have to help realign them. That's also what a mentor and a coach is for, right? There's that person that's there to support you and say, hey, you told me when you started that you wanted to start this business because you wanted to make $500 a month so that you could have a date every month with your husband and so that you could put money in the vacation fund. Is your husband still a priority? First of all, those are the questions that are hard to hear, but need to be asked. Is your husband and your relationship still a priority? Is spending time with your family on vacation still a priority? Well, if it is, then why did you stop the daily action? And you have to get into that. Why? Is it because you didn't actually know what the daily action was? That's what it is most of the time. People don't know what they're actually supposed to be doing every day to get closer to their goal. And then the second one is going, or are the priorities and the goals different? Are the goals that we set actually not the goals that you have? Yes, the date night with your husband's important, but you don't actually really like to travel, right? You actually want to renovate a room in your house so that you have a sanctuary, right? I think you need to get back to the why, because if you decide the why, then you understand if this is actually the goal that you should have created to begin with. And it's okay to go, you know what? That's not even what I wanted to do. But you have to do the work and dig a little deeper to figure out, okay, this is what's important to me and this is what I want to achieve and this is how I do it. Because if all three of those are not aligned, you're going to be on repeat. It's going to be this roller coaster of I'm so excited, I made a new goal, I'm going, and then you're back down because you lost track, you gave up. And then so you come up with another goal or you start the same goal. I'm so excited, I'm so excited, I'm so excited, and you lose and you're off of it again. So the biggest thing that I can say is if you're trying to redirect yourself or you're trying to get restarted, you have to figure out what are actually the priorities. What are the goals that you actually want to achieve? Not the goals that someone said you should, right? You can be shitting all over yourself when you're doing this. Is there's so many people that are like, well, you should be worried about your 401k and you should be worried about where you live. Like if you spend all the time, a lot of times you're working for the things that are important to other people versus working towards the things that you want to have and you want to achieve. And I think that's the biggest part of it is I'm going to say it again. Why are you picking these goals? Why are they important to you? Why do you want to achieve them? How are you going to achieve them? What's the daily activity that you're going to accomplish? And usually the daily activity towards a goal is not all day. If you're dedicating 10 to 15 minutes a day towards your goal over 365 days or whatever time frame you give it, if it's a 90-day goal or 180-day goal, if you're dedicating 10 minutes a day, guess what? That's 900 minutes towards your goal. That's a lot. That's a lot of time. What's not going to work is if on Monday you go all in for an hour and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you forget about your goal. And then on Monday, you show up for an hour and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you forget about your goal. It's literally we've talked about this before. It's the sprint puke. You feel like, well, I'm showing up for my goals. Yes, but you're not showing up consistently. And if you're just showing up when it's convenient, you're not going to accomplish the things that you said are important to you. So if you want to get restarted or you want to keep going, maybe you had a little bit of a roller coaster at the beginning. That's okay. You were getting aligned. You're getting realigned. If you want to keep going or you want to get restarted, go back to why it's important to you, figure out the daily action, and then be consistent.
I think those are such beautiful key points to start this off, but I feel like also, that's our whole episode right there. You brought up so many great points that I'm like, there we go. That's what we needed to say. You had so many practical points to think about as we're starting off February. So I really enjoyed listening to everything you were just saying. And a big underlying part of what you said too is that it's not too late to change your plan, and keeping that in mind, that it's never too late. It's not too late. We're only the second month in. Yes, okay, 1 month has gone by, so now let's recalibrate, see where you want to be. Like you said, maybe your priority and your goal aren't aligned, but you didn't realize that before, and that's what was holding you back. Or it's just laziness or fear, or you having to, you it just, to recalibrate, you have to dig a little deeper and see what it is, why you're not showing up. And is it just that fear of being uncomfortable, which that's normal and you will feel that is part of growth, or is it that it's not really what you want, and that's okay. That's okay
Yeah.
to change that plan.
When I like that you said the word calibrate, and for whatever reason, the vision that came to my head is actually cooking, right? Like a recipe. Sometimes you follow the recipe, right? Because that's how that person likes that food to taste. And then you make it and you're like, oh, it doesn't have enough salt. So you add a little bit of salt. And then you're like, oh, it's not spicy enough. So you add a little bit of spicy stuff. So you're constantly calibrating. And sometimes when you create these goals, if you are showing up consistently, you first of all, you have to show up. You have to show up because you wanna get to the calibration part. You wanna get to the part where you tweak it a little bit and maybe it changes just a tiny bit or it evolves into something else, but you started with this initial thing, and I think that's actually what I've experienced in the last year and a half. I've had my network marketing business for almost 7 years, right? And what I took from that, I built another business. I built Hobson Health, which is my health and wellness business. Well, guess what? By showing up for that business, I showed up in a certain way, the way that I thought I wanted to bring it to my clients. And then a year into it, I was like, you know what? That's just the beta version, right? Everyone has a beta version because I really liked how this worked with my client. And my client really enjoyed this. And I really liked how this worked, but I didn't really like that so much. I didn't want to put the energy into that. And I tweaked it, I tweaked it, I tweaked it. And I always thought it was going to be Hobson Health. And then guess what? A year and a half later, I've been showing up consistently and adding some salt, adding some spice, right? And I come up with something new. And that's where, I've shared with you and I've shared with other people, shine up coaching. And I think that's what people forget is they're so committed to the original vision, which yes, vision is very, very important. But sometimes the colors change a little bit, right? For your vision. Sometimes the dollar amount changes a little bit. Maybe it gets a little bit bigger, maybe it gets a little bit smaller. And who you want to help might change a little bit. Maybe at the beginning you're like, I want to help everyone. Well, it's really hard to help everyone. Maybe you want to help working moms. Maybe you want to help single dads. Whatever it is, you get to really hone in on what your purpose is and what you're excited about. But you're never even going to get close to that if you keep giving up before you get started.
Absolutely, 100%.
Well, and I think a lot of people, they don't ever show up in their full potential. And we've talked about this before. It's typically, stories that you've created about yourself, or they're these really paper walls, the things that you believe about yourself. And the only reason they're true is because you believe them. There's no actual evidence to prove that they're true. It's just because you talk to yourself and you're like, yep, you know what? I am lazy. You know what? I am a procrastinator. You know what? I'm not a good leader. Whatever these stories are, they're only true because you tell yourself they are, until you start to show up differently and show up as a person that is, I am a leader. I don't procrastinate. You know what? I'm not lazy. I'm really good at doing more than one thing. Or I know when to rest. How you talk to yourself is going to change that story drastically. So going, you know what? It's time for me to change the stories. It's time to change the way I talk to myself. And that's how you then start to really get closer to these goals. Because if you're just going, you know what? I want to be a millionaire. And you're sitting in your parents' basement that's not finished with a mattress on the ground, and you just have a picture of $1 million with no plan on how to get there, no daily actions. You're just going, I'm going to be a millionaire while sleeping in your sleeping bag on the floor. Couldn't you get there? For sure. Without a plan? Fuck no. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You're going to be in that same spot next year going, oh, you know what? Or sometimes we put the thing that's so far away, the goal that's 10 years out, on, sometimes on the vision board. I think Mel Robbins just talked about this. I was listening to her podcast, and we put the things that we want to achieve that are 10 years out, and sometimes they can get closer, but we put them 10 years out, and we forget all the stepping stones to get to that goal. We just want to go from 0 to 100, and we forget about all the things that we have to accomplish in between, and the things we have to accomplish to become the person that's a millionaire.
And
I'm
it's
kind
so
of going all over the
necessary.
place with this.
No, but
Yeah.
I think that's a good point. It's that part is not only necessary but crucial. The
Mhm.
stepping stones, because you will not become that person without all of that along the way. And I love
Yep.
your visual of sleeping on the floor in a basement, and visualize, or like just hoping and wishing for $1 million. But I think that's where, when you hear about affirmations, and I think that's where it gets a bad rep, because it's just like, well, just keep praying on it and wishing on it. But it's like, well, but you have to take a step.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. You can't it's a combination of, right? I go back to the recipe. Chicken soup isn't chicken soup with just chicken and water. Like, right? I have to do a couple of other things to make it chicken soup. If I have all and guess what? I could have all the ingredients on my countertop. I could have everything that goes into chicken soup, but it's still not chicken soup. You have to take an action to make it what it's meant to be,
Great analogy right there. That is so,
right?
because right, you might actually have, like, for all of us, if you have a certain goal or mission inside of you, it is there for a reason. So you already have the ingredients, because it's a part of you. It's what you're meant to do. It's who you're meant to be. I truly believe in it. A part of your calling, that you're meant to have that passion for a reason. So I do believe that while maybe I'm not the person that's there yet to fully commit and do, or not commit, that's not the word I meant to say, but fully be able to do the thing,
Yep.
I do believe that each of us is blessed with certain traits that will get us there. And so I love that you say, like with soup, you have all the ingredients, because you do. You have
Mhm.
all the ingredients already. but you have to take the steps for sure. I like that one a lot.
And it's not just the steps, right? Because I know right now in my fridge, I have all the ingredients for chicken soup, but I have to decide that's what I'm going to make dinner tonight. And I think it's the same thing, like you said. All right, I got out all the ingredients. I got the affirmations. I'm putting my energy out there. I am the most awesome person I've ever met. I know what do I want to achieve. Yet you haven't decided that you're going to go for it and you don't show up and take the action to make it, you're still going to be sitting there going, but I tell myself I'm freaking awesome. And I tell myself I'm a money magnet and I high five myself in the mirror. That's awesome. That's so cool for you. Where's it going to get you? It's only going to get you so far. For sure. If you mix them all together and then you add daily consistent action and then you add decision, there can be no indecision in going for it. You can't be wishy-washy about it.
And you know what I would say is the daily consistent action, I would say, is the chicken. Because there's no chicken soup without chicken. There is that main ingredient that has to be there. And I would say it's what would you say is now I'm speaking for you. What would you say is the chicken is the main ingredient? I think it's the daily habits for sure.
I mean, it's the daily habits, but again, if you do daily habits one day, it's not gonna matter. It has to be added with consistency. I love that we're still going down this analogy of chicken soup. But the chicken is right. The chicken is well, and there's no chicken soup without broth. So there, I can't believe I'm going down this. But you have the chicken and you have the broth. That's your daily consistent action and your consistency. You can't do an action on a Monday and not do any action for 7 days and expect results. That's just true. And I think a lot of people, they know we're entrepreneurs in a lot of different ways and they associate, well, that's great if you have business goals. This isn't just for the business goal, people. This is for the person that has a health and wellness goal. This is for the person that wants to add more positivity into their life. This is for the person searching for joy and happiness in their life. You have to make that a daily consistent action. You have to look for the things, right? You have to start manifesting these things. I truly believe in manifestation. Again, only one of the ingredients, but you start manifesting things. There's a reason. Take a second. I actually just posted about this and I read it in a book again recently. If you take 30 seconds, take this action right now. If you're driving, okay, stop. But for 30 seconds to a minute, look around your room right now and find everything that's blue. Everything. Look. I'm going to wait. All right. Now close your eyes and think of everything in the room that was red. You can't. You might because you live there if you're in your own house and you might remember the things that you have, but you are focusing your energy on the things that are blue. So your energy is going to go to the things that are blue, not to the things that are red. So let's say that the blue things are negative self talk, self doubt, inactivity, inconsistency. You get picking up what I'm putting down here? And then the red things are the positive affirmations, the manifestations, the daily action, the consistency. You're not going to find them if you're not looking for them and showing up for them.
Well said. I like that one a lot. Because everybody can do that wherever you are as you're listening
Right?
to that. And it's true. Like you don't, I was just looking around my room and even though I live here, I was like, oh, nope, don't know
No,
where
I
any of
live
the red
here.
was. Didn't catch
Well,
any of the red.
and I mean, our brain, we know this, it's powerful beyond all measure, but it's also a very useful tool if we're using it right. It can be either extremely detrimental to our success or it can be our biggest asset. And we have to utilize our brain in the right way. And that depends on what you're watching, what you're reading, what you're listening to, who you're surrounding yourself with, who you're talking to. Obviously, if you're surrounded by tiny humans, you're pouring into them, right? They're coming up with crazy stuff. So they're talking into you. But if you choose to listen to the negative people, if you choose to watch the negative news, if you choose, and I get it. I love a good murder podcast like any other. However, if I'm going to spend 80% of my podcast listening time to murder podcast, it's actually not going to do a lot for my positive mindset. Okay, it's going to change the way I live my life, and I get it. Those people are out there. However, if I choose to listen to something that is more in alignment, like Mel Robbins or Ed Milet or Jay Shetty, these are the types of people I want to be where they're at. So I have to listen to those types of people. And maybe you're headed in a different direction. Maybe you want to be a murder investigator, so you should listen to the murder podcast. I don't know. Yes, you need some time where you release and you have stress relief, but I'm actually here to tell you guys that's not actually a good way to stress release.
I
There
know so
is
many
fight
people
or
love.
flight.
I
Fight or
I
flight
personally
stress release.
cannot watch them because I get like nightmares. But that's just me. I know so many people that love them, and I'm like, don't recommend those to me. But
Mm,
I did want to keep going down the conversation where you were talking about how things start to come up too, like you start to manifest, which again, that word I feel like can also get tossed around a lot. But in the way that you hear, sometimes I've heard this too, like as I was living my dream as a dancer on a cruise ship, and if, so specifically, say for that moment in my life, people used to tell me, well, you're so lucky. And it's like, that was not luck. Nothing about that was luck. I was never like the strongest dancer, the most flexible. Like, there's no reason I should have been a dancer living, a performance life the way I did because I was never the best. But I just kept doing it because it was in my soul that I wanted to do that so bad that I just kept thinking, well, I'm not good enough yet. I'm not good enough yet. And I just kept training and that's just like I mean, it was a long, 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 long road to get to cruise ships. But it was not luck. It was me doing the work, and then opportunity presents itself when you are showing up and ready. And I think that's the thing, is because then your eye is open to the red things that you hadn't noticed before because you're working, that then opportunity comes up and you're able to spot it. Whereas if you're not doing the work, you're not noticing the things that are aligned with where you want to go.
No, that's not how the universe works. I've said this before. If you're in a rut with a relationship and you're expecting Mr. Right to show up on your door, unfortunately, that's not how things work. You have to put yourself out there. And the other side of this, Christy, is you've talked about I was living my dream. I was not lucky. And then some of us, we're not having the repeated success because we don't do the things that got us there in the first place, start to bring up maybe I was lucky. Maybe that was a fluke. Maybe that wasn't supposed to actually happen. It only stopped happening because you stopped doing the things that got you there in the first place. So if you're a person that's had a lot of success and now you feel like you're stuck in a rut, get back to basics. What are the things that you did when you were successful the first time? How are you treating your mind? What did your days look like? How are you feeding your body? Who are you surrounding yourself with? Have you gotten back into old habits or created new bad habits? And I think that happens a lot too. And those go back to those paper stories. We've talked about imposter syndrome. A lot of times that can happen after we've had a success. How did I actually create that success? Was I meant to have it, or how am I going to keep it? That's a huge thing that people deal with, is once they are successful, they worry so much about how they're going to keep it that they're self-sabotaging to lose it.
So I think we brought up so many great points today on this topic of keep going. But the main thing being the main thing is you do have to circle back around to why you set the goal that you set, and is your priority aligned with your goal? And are those two things aligned, and why did you do it? And then showing up for that, setting or figuring out what your daily activity is, because as we said before, it's not too late. It's by far not too late. You can change the game. You can make a shift and keep going, or stop and pivot and go in a different direction, but it's not too late.
Well, and I think the biggest thing is, yes, you can figure out your why. Why'd you get started? Why'd you choose the goal? Is the main goal the goal? And you don't have to Monday it. You don't have to January it. You can get started on a Tuesday. You can get started on a Thursday. You can get started in February. That doesn't matter. I think that's really important. And I think your goals matter. And if you started to doubt that, we're here to remind you that whatever you choose as a goal, it is meant to be for you.
100%. So thank you guys for joining us on another awesome conversation. Join in the conversation. Find us on Instagram at Happy Healthy Skeptical and tune in next time.